Welcome to Clutch Talk 101. I'm going to be discussing a couple recent trades that have happened. Um, had a couple big moves today. Uh, Kadarius Toney traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a third and a sixth round pick. This guy's ceiling is so high, and I think this was an amazing move by the Chiefs. Just as they have Isaiah Pacheco emerging, Sky Moore's finally making some plays. They're very there's a very small amount of plays that they've made, but they're finally coming onto the scene a little bit. Their GM is excellent. Uh, Kadarius Toney coming out had one of the highest ceilings and one of the higher grades of that draft class. A lot of people throughout the year thinking, man, New York has a bad wide receiving core. No, not really. They have a very solid wide receiving core. For one, they've been hurt, and for two, Daniel Jones just does not put their one and two wide receivers in good positions to make plays ever. I mean, he's not accurate. He has no touch on the ball. His football IQ is like not very high, especially for a quarterback. Kadarius Toney has like Tyreek Hill level of type of playmaking. He could be on that level down the road. Obviously, it's going to take some time to mold with the team, but this was an amazing move by the Kansas City Chiefs. I all year, even when I saw them play the Bills, all year I've been very high on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that right now, if I had to pick any team to win the Super Bowl, it would be the Chiefs. Before and after this trade. Before I was like, it would either be the Bills or the Chiefs, and I just have more confidence in someone that's been there and proven to me that he can make comebacks in playoff games, clutch throws. Andy Reid's been there. There's less pressure. The Bills have a bunch of pressure. They're the Super Bowl favorites before and during the season to make the Super Bowl. That's a lot to take on. I can see them making the AFC Championship, but I favor the Kansas City Chiefs just because of what my eyes have seen. And I think Kadarius Toney puts them up on another echelon of like they have three players that could break out by the end of the year: Sky Moore, Pacheco, and Kadarius Toney. All these guys could be his next set of weapons that really emerges. Another trade today I saw was Robert Quinn to the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, just when the Chicago Bears are showing you, hey, we got a solid team, and you know what their highlight was of that game? Their defense and their pass rush. Now they're getting rid of Robert Quinn. They're leaving Roquan out to dry. They're trying so hard to tear down this roster and rebuild again, even though they just started rebuilding 2 years ago. This was an absolute trash move by the worst upper management in football. The Chicago Bears have the worst GM, roster builder, whoever is in charge of trades, picking up free agents, drafting. He's the worst in football. Uh, he clearly just wants to keep rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. I don't know if he wants to not pay players. I don't know what the deal is. You got a quarterback that you can legitimately build around. Justin Fields looked solid for having Darnell Mooney be your best weapon. Now, Darnell Mooney ain't a slouch, but he ain't a number one receiver. Chicago Bears, I don't understand what you're doing. This makes the Eagles defense even that more lethal. A lot of people think, Dallas, Buffalo, best defenses in the league. If you look at like each level of players, the Eagles have the best roster. I think they have the best defense in the league. If I had to choose any roster in the league to have on my defense as a team, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles because they're young. They have great secondary. Darius Slay ain't no joke. James Bradbury ain't no joke. Those guys are great. So I think Robert Quinn is a great addition to that defense. Um, but again, back to the Kadarius Toney point, I think he actually has the potential to maybe not this year. He'll make some plays this year for them for sure. But next year he has the potential to overcome Juju for that number one wide receiver spot. Um, I truly believe that Juju Smith-Schuster is a great number two, but he's just not a number one. Maybe they'll keep him, but he's a good bridge wide receiver to make your wide receivers not look awful, but they're not going to be like in the middle of the pack with Kadarius Toney and Juju and Pacheco. And I think if out of all those weapons, the first to go would probably be Juju. But if they kept all their weapons, I mean, this team is stacked to the gills. They have so many great potential players on that offense. And I'm really excited to see what Toney and all those young guys are going to do for the Chiefs. As for the Bears, just another day in paradise of letting go another great. How many greats have you traded in the past 5 years? I mean, at one point when they had Trubisky, they had like everyone thought they were overachieving with Trubisky when they made the playoffs because of their lack of roster. And now you have less of that. You got rid of all your stars from that team. Allen Robinson's gone. Roquan Smith was on the trading block earlier this year. You traded Robert Quinn. I mean, what this team does makes zero sense. So disappointing by the Bears, but I understand why the Giants got rid of him because they're just not using their wide receiver. I mean, why would they even bother? I mean, I feel like they probably honestly felt like they were wasting his time, which they were. Kadarius Toney's a perfect fit for Kansas City. Mark my words.